Now we're going to learn how to multiply fractions, and to do that I'm going to use an area model, something that you might be familiar with. Remember that multiplying two numbers is a lot like doing the area of a quadrilateral, where the length times the width gives you the area. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to multiply 1/2. Let's do that in the color that it's going to be in. Let's say we're going to multiply, let's do blue and green. I want to multiply 1/2, and I'm going to times that by 2/3. Now remember, when we were adding fractions, we had to have common denominators. In order to add across the numerators, we need to know the size of our cuts in order to, the size of our slices of pizza, say, in order to decide how to add the parts, the shaded in areas. Well, in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my area here and I'm going to divide it first into a half along this axis. So I'm going to cut it in relative half. Sorry that it's not the best. And I'm going to shade one of those two halves. So we'll go ahead and shade this area here. So that's the 1/2 side, because I made that into two parts. Now I want to do the 2/3 side, and I'll do that one in green. So I'll take and I'll cut my area again into columns here. And I will shade two of those columns. So let's say that this column is shaded and this column is shaded. Now when I'm multiplying my numbers 1/2 and 2/3, I ask myself, well, which of the areas, which of the models here, parts of the model, are both shaded in the green for the 2/3 and the blue for the 1/2? And I see that this area here is the area that has both green and blue in it. So I have to ask myself, well, after I cut it this way and this way into two parts and then three parts, how many parts do I have now? And I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. So when I multiply my fraction, I get 6 parts because of 2 times 3. And the shaded area that has both the green and the blue shading, it looks like 2 of those 3. 2 of the 3 are shaded. So it's much like the same thing as multiplying straight across. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. If you're savvy, you would notice that 2/6 has an equivalent fraction. I can reduce 2/6 further. I can divide by a factor of 1. Let's say divide by 2, because both of these numbers are divisible by 2. Remember, and that's dividing by a factor of 1. And when I divide by my factor of 1, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So effectively, multiplying the two numbers 1/2 times 2/3 is 1/3. Let's continue to use this area model to drive the point home about multiplying fractions. This time I want to multiply the numbers 1/4, and I want to multiply that by the number 1/3, say. Okay, so let's first cut our fourths, and we'll take this area and we'll cut it into roughly 4 equal parts. If you want me to make that a little more equaler, we'll go ahead and do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts, and I will shade in this area here. Let's go back to our little highlighting group, and we'll shade in this area here. So this is our 1/4 area that's shaded. Now I want to cut along the length here into 3 equal parts, so I will change my pen to blue and we'll cut this once and twice. And I will only shade one of those thirds. So let's go ahead and take this and shade the third here. This is the third that is shaded. Alright, so now if I multiply the two numbers, 1/4 and 1/3, 1/4 times 1/3, how many parts have I divided my area into? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I now have 12 equal parts. And what do they share in common? What has the common shading? And it looks like I have blue and purple only in this one here. So I've got 1 of 12 shaded. And that's consistent with what we had before. 4 times 3 is in fact 12. 1 times 1 is in fact 1. So 1/4 times 1/3 equals 1/12. That's our answer.